It's easy to hear your favorite artist on WFPK from wherever you are. Listen on your smart speaker, live stream from our website at WFPK.org from Louisville Public Media.
Right, you're not even a fan. Like, you're just acting extra for no reason.
Consequence Podcast Network. Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org. Consequence and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for checking out the series, making your way here. I do hope you hit the subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, and doing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists, discover some new ones, know what's happening in the music world, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Acast, Podchaser, NPR, YouTube for the video versions, or again, anywhere you get your podcast from. I'm Kyle Meredith. Today is actually another Vault episode, a special episode where I've been reclaiming, that's not the right word, but I've been digging into all of these interviews from my past that really just never got digitized and put up on the web. They were only played on the air and maybe only once. So this is kind of a chance for more people to hear it. And today's Vault episode takes us back to 2015. Talib Kweli was in Louisville, I believe, for the Forecastle Festival. I'm almost positive that Forecastle Festival. And he stopped in the WFPK studios late one evening. And we got to talk about a B-Sides record that he had just put out, his volume 1 of his B-Sides record. Talib, of course, when you talk to him about music, you're inevitably going to talk about politics as well. This is 2015. There was a lot happening. There's always a lot happening, but there was definitely a lot happening. We, of course, had no clue what we were building up to in 2016, but we did talk about, the general landscape of what was happening, especially in Kentucky, and how that kind of translates to hip-hop, hip-hop's roots, and combining activism and fun. Lots of names mentioned. J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Kanye. He talks quite a lot, quite frankly, about Pitchfork, the entitlement of some fans and their relationship with the artists and challenging those fans. Then, of course, we also talked a bit about that record, the B-Sides record, trying to make timeless protest music, Nina Simone, and a lot more. This was a really fun interview and conversation. It was one that, honestly, I remember before and going into it, that I'd wondered if I was out of my league at the time. I was trying to figure out who I was as an interviewer, who I wanted to be as an interviewer, and I was trying to challenge myself. I come from the rock world. I mostly talk to rock musicians. This gave me an opportunity to have a different conversation, and I could not have been more grateful for the warmth and the wits and just the all-around friendliness of Talib Kweli. So let's do this. It's Kyle Meredith with Talib Kweli. I figured I should say, given everything that you are really known for, welcome to Kentucky, home of Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell.
Hey, man, those are very popular guys.
Yeah, they are popular, unfortunately, I think for all the wrong reasons.
They are popular guys.
We're in one of those towns. I don't know what you'd say. You always hear Austin is not Texas, and I'd like to say that Louisville is not Kentucky, and for all that is representative of it.
No, Kay was just explaining how impressed she was with Louisville.
Yeah,
with
Louisville. Yeah, you'll get it. It's all right.
Louisville.
I do love the town. We've done some good stuff, but you got to put up with a bunch of other stuff when you.
Hey, man, you got Rand Paul. Isn't he he's like a dentist, right? Oh, that's Ron Paul, right?
Yeah, no.
Rand is a dentist.
Yeah,
right?
He was a dentist.
I need to go see him about my teeth. Rand Paul, I need to go come see you about my teeth, yo. What's good?
Just don't go see him about your politics.
Hey, man, he's into legalizing pot, man.
Yeah, but he's also into
political tactic. He's trying to get the pot vote.
That's right. You think it'll follow? You think everybody be like, yeah, it's the one thing we care about, so we'll get right behind you.
Shout out to the homie Cory Booker, definitely.
But it is, I guess, at this point, it is what you're kind of known for. Besides the music, it is the political side. Do you ever get to a point where you wish people would concentrate more on the music, or is it about using your voice to push those things out there?
Yeah, I mean, what I do is I make music for a living. I'm an entertainer for a living. So I'm always impressed when I do an interview and somebody wants to talk about the music.
Yeah.
But I'm not a shut up and sing type of artist, and hip hop in particular. is informed by the struggle. A lot of people don't know that about hip hop because they only listen to commercial hip hop and they only have a very fleeting relationship with hip hop. But if you understand where hip hop comes from and the rudiments of it, you understand that as much as we like to turn up in the clubs, the hip hop come from social struggle and it come from speaking out. You know, Africa Bambaataa and them, when they started hip hop back in the days, you know, they were talking about peace, love, unity, and having fun. And you can't leave out the having fun, but you can't leave out the peace, love, and unity either. And those guys was gangsters, man, but they understood that being gangsters wasn't good for the community. So they used hip hop to replace the gangsterism.
Yeah, that was the whole thing about how the Ghetto Brothers started, right? It was all about kind of the activism and then putting that in to the music to kind of get it out there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, hip hop comes from Negro spirituals. It comes from Psalms in the Bible, but also, you know, more recently it comes from Nikki Giovanni and Sonia Sanchez and Jane Cortez and the Last Poets and Gil Scott-Heron and putting message in the music and using your oratory skills. Hip hop is very loquacious. You can fit a lot of words into a hip hop song. So if you can fit a lot of words, you don't want to just be talking a bunch of nonsense.
It's also a good time, I guess, for socially conscious rap. I mean, you've got two huge names that are doing big things with D'Angelo and Kendrick Lamar. Like, and it feels like to me it's really given the opportunity to kind of take that stuff and I don't know if I want to say shove it down people's throats because it almost seems like they're taking it without even realize what they're getting.
Yeah, what's interesting right now with the music business is at a place where people are turned off by mass marketing and they appreciate things that are marketed in a niche way and things that are marketed directly. People are more interested in discovering things on their own than they are by some big marketing campaign. And so when they discover things on their own, they discover things that are more genuine and more sincere and things that they relate to more. And so when you have an artist like Kendrick Lamar, an artist like J. Cole, these are the biggest rappers in the business. Say what you want to say about whoever's turning up in the club right now, ain't none of them outselling J. Cole. You know what I'm saying? J. Cole and Taylor Swift were the only platinum artists in the whole industry last year. And it's because of the sincerity and how genuine they're coming as artists. And that's what the people are relating to. So even though J. Cole and sometimes Kendrick can have big radio records, it's not the big radio records that are blowing them up. It's the more conscious records and the more introspective records that people are relating to.
Do you think it's a generational thing, or you think it's just the time and the music that's kind of, again, helping it?
I think it's everything. It's the generational thing. It's technology. It's where the music business is at. It's where the fans are. It's where the consumers are, where the musicians are. The connection between the consumers and the fans and the musicians is shifting and bending at all times. And the savvy consumer and the savvy musician is driving the industry right now.
Yeah, and you're figuring out your own ways to get it out there. I mean, you've gone through... You know, when you started, it was very much the old school way of music, and to what you've been able to do, whether it's experimenting or with your new B-sides record, and you know, surprise,
right?
Here's a record.
Yeah, it's crazy because you know you have places, you know, outlets that I know these people at Fader and Complex and Pitchfork. And places like this that are now like looked at as the hallowed ground of music critique. And you know, I put out incredible records, Prisoner Conscious, Gravitas, that I personally feel like are very good. And there was a lot of marketing and lead up to those records and a lot of dollars spent to get you to pay attention, a lot of videos and all that. And none of those blogs covered any of those records. Yeah. But I drop an album out the blue and I say it's featuring Kanye West, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, they clickbait. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, I'm totally down with Kweli. Yeah, definitely, we love this. But I see through that, and you know, shout out to all the blogs that are looking for clickbait so they can get hits on their blog, because we're all in it together, and it's a symbiotic relationship.
I want to say though, it's not because of Kanye. You know,
no, it definitely is. You're not interviewing me because of Kanye, but Pitchfork picked up my album because of Kanye, without a doubt. I hope Pitchfork is listening to your program here.
Maybe they will be. Well, you've got this new B-sides album out.
Right, and Pitchfork did a. Let's talk about Pitchfork for a second. They did an article talking about Lauryn Hill owes us nothing. I'm like, I wrote that article a year ago. Y'all late, man. Stop biting, Pitchfork. Pitchfork, stop biting.
You're the clickbait for them. Vice versa.
I'm the clickbait for them, but they don't want to review none of my albums, yo, because they soft.
It's going to be a weird number that's not going to mean anything.
Right, because they're soft.
What does a 6.3 mean? What is a...
That means that someone's pretentious and someone wears diapers, and they should have no business reviewing music because they've lived no life experience. Your opinion has no value.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean, critiquing is weird anyway, and I'm on the critical side to a point, I guess, but it's just a complete eye roll inducing.
Oh no, I mean I critique music. I mean, music lovers should critique music and hold musicians accountable and all that and this and that and that. It's great. I mean, I love reading, but I come from a generation where music critics, you had to be involved in the culture. You had to be participating in the culture, and too often these bloggers don't participate in the culture. It's too easy to think that your opinion is worth something without participating in the culture these days.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually have a note on my computer that says, "Should artists be held accountable for their art?" Because and you say yes. As a
I
fan,
think human beings should be held accountable for things. We're humans, and we're mothers and fathers and community people and teachers before we are artists.
Yeah.
So we have to be artists' only job is to be honest. That's it.
That's what I'm saying. So as a fan, though, there's one point that I shouldn't have a say in it. I shouldn't have a say in what you do. You do it, and I can decide if I like it or not.
Right.
But on the other side, if I'm a fan, of course I'm going to complain, even if I do like it half the time.
No, and as a fan, you should complain. You have the right to complain. But a lot of times, as fans, because I'm a fan too, we don't understand the relationship and the exchange. We as fans in this internet age, in this digital age, we feel entitled. We feel like music should be free, and everybody owes us something. And now, see, back in the days, if you were into if you were a fan of MC5, you couldn't just say you were a fan of MC5. Someone would call your bluff. You would have to have a bootleg or have been to a show or own a record. You'd have to have some sort of... Now someone could listen to your Pandora station for a couple of minutes or have seen a video on YouTube for free. And then they'll come up to you talking about, I'm a fan, and they'll treat you like you owe them something. It's like, no, you haven't invested anything. Yeah. You heard my song on Spotify and you're my biggest fan? No, you're not. I know my biggest fan. My biggest fan is on Quality Club. He bought everything on Quality Club. I know him by name. I can email him and call him right now. You are not my biggest fan, and you don't deserve to say that. Because you've heard of me, because Kanye said my name. Like, you don't deserve to say that. But again, the responsibility is not on the fan. It's on me. It's on me to make that fan care. You know what I'm saying? But I love exposing fake fans.
You do it on Twitter. I've noticed.
I love it.
Out.
I do. I love it. I love being able to challenge fans to hold them accountable. You know why? Because they're going to hold me accountable.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
They're going to come to me and they're going to challenge me and they're going to hold me accountable, and I'm going to flip it on them.
And they will not expect it. That's the last thing you expect from your hero, whatever.
That's not even a picture of you. That's not even you in that picture, son. Why, your opinion means nothing.
All right. Let's talk about this music, because I did promise you we were going to talk about the music.
Yes.
Train of Thoughts? That's the name of it, right?
Sort of.
So wait, it's and B-sides and
yes.
Volume 1 and
yes.
and the whole deal. Do you look at these as I always saw B-sides records as like lost dogs. These are the dogs that didn't get a home.
Sort of. B-side and hip hop is a little different. The hip hop B-side traditionally has been the better record. The B-side of Big Papa was Warning by Biggie. You know what I'm saying? Like the big B-side of One More Chance was Who Shot You. That might not be quite accurate. Yeah. But you get my point. In hip hop, it's the B-side that people always check for. I got a lot of records. I put out a lot of mixtapes. I've always been ahead of the curve and ahead of my time. And there's a lot of records. Records with Killer Mike, records with Fabulous, records with Kanye, records with Mos Def, Common, and records that when I put them out, they were ahead of their time. People didn't really get what I was trying to do. Now these artists have blown up way more. Yeah. And I'm sitting all these records, and I'm like, yo, my kids deserve to eat off these records. You know what I'm saying? So I put them out.
That's going to be frustrating a little bit, doing that time and time again, where you do it. You find something, you kindle something, and it blows up, and here you are.
No, it's not frustrating at all. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I just have to learn how to be smarter with it. It's like, I did that with I did records with a lot of artists that they blew up later. I did a record for Prisoner Conscious with Kendrick Lamar. Mm-hmm. We recorded the record in maybe 2011, 2012, but I was like, this dude, they're not ready for him yet. They will be in a couple years. So I held that record. I learned. By the time I got to doing records with Kendrick, I learned. And I held the record until after he dropped his first single.
Is there a lot more? You've got a lot more beyond this, but beyond Volume 1, what we're hearing right now?
Yeah, for that I got at least 2 or 3 volumes.
Yeah.
I'm putting out a free mixtape in a couple of weeks called, can I curse?
Yeah, sure.
It's called Fuck the Money.
Yeah.
This record is featuring Miguel and Styles P, and who else is on this record? Nico is, and Casper Noyaset from South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But this record is very exciting for me, this Fuck the Money record. I had to get out. Fuck the Money is really more new sounding, newer sounds in hip hop, which is why I put out the B-sides, the rarities first, because I wanted to get that out of my system.
Clean it, right?
Yeah, here's what you're used to hearing from me, and now I have a new sound.
With your songs and looking at some of these B-sides and everything, if it's a topical song that was very much of the time, and if you're talking about a specific event, do you tend to try to stay away from that? Does that become so ingrained in that moment that it doesn't make sense for you now?
Well, that's the challenge with doing topical music and conscious music and music that speaks directly to the movement. Luckily for hip-hop has always spoken directly in the language that the people in the streets still speak. I was watching Nina Simone's documentary on Netflix.
Great documentary.
Yeah, it's great. And she talks specifically about this question. Mm-hmm. She talks about doing protest music and how she couldn't perform those songs anymore because they didn't feel timely. Yeah. But I think that was more her speaking to her disdain with the industry. I think she felt hurt by the fact that the industry blackballed her and that she wasn't supported by doing that music. It's not so much that those records and those themes no longer resonate, because they do. Mm-hmm. Nina Simone, we think that's a great documentary specifically because those themes and those protest songs still resonate.
Still, yeah, right.
But she couldn't see that at a time when the world wasn't appreciating her. Mm-hmm. You know, she's gone. She's not going to get to see this documentary. You know, sometimes we celebrate our heroes after they're gone.
Yeah. That's the most unfortunate and surprising thing about protest songs is, you know, the ones written for the 60s, they still make sense.
They do.
And I would think if you're the artist who wrote the protest song, you're hoping that this isn't going to make sense in 5 years.
Yeah, you're hoping that it changes and something does better. Something it makes something better. But hip hop, you know, is great because this is a great thing about hip hop is that's my challenge. How do I talk about, you know, Tamir Rice and Eric Garner and this new situation in Texas, Sandra Brand? You know, how do I talk about these things? But it's about understanding history and understanding that everything has a context. Yeah. Understanding that what Malcolm X was talking about, what Assata Shakur was talking about is very, very relevant. And bringing a younger generation into the mind state where they can even see the connection.
I can't wait to hear what you've done on this next record. I have a feeling all that you just said is somehow going to creep into it, too.
Some of it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, man.
My thanks to Talib Kweli. Again, I would say his new record, because that's what I'd usually say at this point in the interview, but his very old record that we were talking about there with some B-sides. Of course, he did release a new record in 2021 called Gotham. So, you know, check that one out, too. And all of his stuff, because it's always pretty mind-blowing. Big thanks to you for checking out this episode. Hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with all the new interviews, all the old interviews that I'm putting out there as well. iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Acast, Podchaser, NPR, YouTube for the video versions, or again, anywhere you get your podcasts from. After that, head over to WFPK.org, where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. An hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, and bonus interviews. That's Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all three of them at Kyle Meredith. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time. Consequence Podcast Network.
It's easy to hear your favorite artist on WFPK from wherever you are. Listen on your smart speaker, live stream from our website at WFPK.org from Louisville Public Media.